The restaurant was humming with quiet chatter, the clinking of glasses, and the soft jazz playing in the background. Candles flickered on every table, throwing golden light on the polished cutlery and perfectly folded napkins. And there she was, Amelia Dawson, sitting alone at a corner table, fidgeting with her phone and glancing at the door every few seconds. Her reflection in the wine glass looked more anxious than she wanted to admit. She wasn't used to this, to waiting, to hoping, to dating. Not after what happened 3 years ago. 3 years ago, Amelia had been engaged, or rather, she thought she was. Her ex-fiancé had left her days before the wedding, with nothing but a note that read, "I can't do this." Those words had shattered her. Since then, she'd buried herself in her marketing job, convincing herself she was fine being single. But lately, her loneliness had started whispering louder. Her best friend, Clara, had finally taken matters into her own hands and set her up on a blind date, insisting it would be good for her. Amelia had reluctantly agreed, thinking it would at least get Clara off her back. Now, as she sat surrounded by couples laughing and clinking glasses, her confidence was slipping away. The man was already 10 minutes late. Maybe he wasn't coming. Maybe this was a mistake. She sighed, glancing at her reflection in the window. Soft brown curls falling over her shoulders, a navy blue dress that fit just right, but eyes that still carried the shadow of heartbreak. She felt invisible. Just then, a tall man approached her table, dressed neatly in a white shirt and black trousers, holding a glass of water and a polite smile. "Good evening," he said softly. Amelia barely looked up. "Oh, thank you," she replied, assuming he was the waiter. "Could I actually get some lemon with that?" The man's lips curved into a small, amused smile. "Actually," he paused, lowering the glass onto the table gently, "I'm not your waiter. I'm your blind date." Her eyes widened. A flush of embarrassment rushed up her neck as she stared at him, mortified. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," she blurted out, covering her face for a moment. He chuckled, not the kind of laugh that mocked, but one that eased the tension instantly. "Don't worry," he said kindly, "you're not the first to mistake me for someone else tonight." And just like that, something shifted, a flicker of warmth cut through her nervousness. Backhand index pointing right. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the beauty of unexpected connections, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It helps us tell more stories that touch the heart. Red heart. As the awkwardness faded, they began to talk. His name was Ethan Cole, a graphic designer who loved music, hiking, and had a dry, gentle sense of humor that made her smile more than she expected. His calm confidence contrasted her anxious energy, yet it felt like their personalities somehow balanced each other. They talked for hours, about art, about dreams, about disappointments. She learned that he had recently lost his younger brother in a car accident, and that pain had changed his outlook on life. "It taught me not to postpone happiness," he said quietly. "We never know how much time we get." His eyes, deep brown and quietly sorrowful, reflected something Amelia hadn't seen in a long time, understanding. By the time dessert came, she realized she hadn't checked her phone in over an hour. The conversation flowed effortlessly, as if they weren't strangers meeting for the first time, but two souls who had found something familiar in each other. After dinner, he walked her to her car. A light drizzle had started, painting the streets in shimmering reflections. He stood there, hands in pockets, smiling softly as the rain danced around them. "I had a really good time," he said. She smiled back, hesitant but honest. "So did I." When he asked if he could see her again, her heart skipped, not out of fear, but hope. "I'd like that," she replied. For the first time in years, Amelia drove home with a smile that wouldn't fade. Over the next few weeks, their connection deepened. They went on long walks through the park, shared late-night phone calls, and sent each other small surprises, coffee on busy mornings, notes tucked into books. Amelia found herself laughing more, worrying less. The walls she'd built so carefully began to crumble, replaced by warmth she hadn't felt since before her heartbreak. Yet, even as she started to trust again, a small voice in her mind whispered, "Don't get too close. Don't forget how it felt last time." She tried to silence it, but it followed her like a shadow. One evening, Ethan invited her to an art gallery. The theme was Reflections of the Soul, and each painting depicted emotions too raw to describe in words. As they walked hand in hand through the gallery, Amelia noticed one painting, a woman sitting by a shattered mirror, pieces reflecting fragments of her face. Beneath it was the caption, "She became whole by embracing her cracks." Amelia stared at it for a long time. She felt her throat tighten, tears welling up. Ethan gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "Beautiful, isn't it?" he said quietly. She nodded. "It's me," she whispered. "That's exactly how I feel." He looked at her, eyes soft. "Then maybe you're not as broken as you think." Something about that night changed Amelia. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, she deserved love again. But life, as always, tests those who start to hope. 2 months later, Ethan began to withdraw. His messages became shorter, his calls less frequent. When they met, he seemed distracted, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. Amelia felt the old panic rising again. That ache of rejection she thought she'd buried. One night, she couldn't hold it in anymore. "Ethan," she said softly over dinner, "if something's wrong, please tell me." He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Amelia. I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want to lose you before I had to." Her heart dropped. "What do you mean?" He looked at her, eyes filled with something she couldn't read, pain, fear, love. "I've been diagnosed with a serious heart condition," he said finally. "The doctors say I might need surgery soon. It's risky. I didn't want you to get caught up in this. You've already been through so much, and I didn't want to be another heartbreak for you." Her world tilted. She sat there frozen, tears streaming silently down her cheeks. "Ethan," she whispered, reaching for his hand. "You don't get to decide that for me." He shook his head. "I just wanted you to have someone healthy, someone whole." Amelia took a shaky breath, her voice trembling. "No one is whole, Ethan. We're all just learning how to love despite the cracks." That night, as rain poured outside the restaurant, the same place where they'd first met, Amelia realized how deeply she loved him. Not for the laughter, not for the perfect moments, but for his vulnerability, his courage, his brokenness that mirrored her own. Weeks passed, filled with hospital visits, quiet nights, and hope that flickered like a candle against the wind. Amelia never left his side. She read to him when he couldn't sleep, made him laugh when the pain was unbearable, and prayed when words failed her. The surgery came. 6 hours of waiting, pacing, praying. When the doctor finally came out with a tired smile, saying, "He made it," Amelia broke down, sobbing in relief. Months later, when Ethan was finally strong enough, they returned to that same restaurant, the place where it all began. She wore the same navy blue dress, though now it held a story, of heartbreak, healing, and hope. As they sat at their table, Ethan reached across and took her hand. "You know," he said with a smile, "I still remember how you asked me for lemon water the first time we met." She laughed, her eyes glistening. "And you still remember how red my face turned?" "Every detail," he said softly. "Because that was the night I met the woman who taught me how to live again." The music swelled, the lights softened, and for a moment, time seemed to stop, two people who had walked through pain, finding light in each other's shadows. Months later, they got engaged, not with grand gestures, but with quiet certainty. One evening, as the sun set behind the hills, Ethan knelt down on one knee during one of their hikes and said, "You thought I was your waiter once. But truth is, I've been serving my heart to you ever since." She laughed through her tears and said yes, realizing that life's best surprises often come disguised as mistakes. Their wedding was small but filled with warmth. Candles, laughter, and the people who had witnessed their journey from strangers to soulmates. As Amelia looked at him standing before her, healthy, smiling, alive, she knew that love, true love, wasn't about perfection. It was about persistence, forgiveness, and courage to love again, even when it hurts. Backhand index pointing right. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and share it with someone who still believes in love, hope, and second chances. And don't forget to subscribe for more heartfelt stories that remind us, love can find us when we least expect it. Red heart. Speech balloon. Before you go, tell us in the comments, do you believe in fate, or do you think love is just about being in the right place at the right time? As the story of Amelia and Ethan faded into the gentle music of the restaurant, one truth remained: sometimes, the people who heal us come into our lives disguised as something ordinary. But when they leave, nothing is ordinary again.